Namaste, Hare Krishna, everyone. I've been so touched by many of you who watch the Gaura Academy videos, and you have personally also written to share how these astrology reflection videos are actually helping you navigate your life's timings with more clarity, productivity, and alignment. And that makes me feel very grateful and honored. Some of our deeper one-on-one communication that we've had about your different signs made me realize that even if one single hour of focused sharing can guide hundreds of you, why not do this for all signs? After all, I can't possibly consult everyone individually, but together we can still walk through these transits in a way that feels personal and practical and God-conscious and aligned. Also, if you have not yet, I encourage you to watch the previous video on the eclipse where I spoke about the difference between how eclipses impact your ascendant or your sun sign or your moon sign that you can also apply with the information of this video, which will give you an important context for what I'll be sharing today's video. And on a personal note, what really inspired me to make this video was a conversation I had this morning with Shravaniya Prabhu, who lives in Hong Kong. She's a very senior disciple of Srila Prabhupada. We had a fantastic interview, which you'll see soon on this channel, all about astrology and Krishna consciousness. And we spoke about philosophy and the depth of practice of sadhana and the astrological influences that shapes our transits, our time, our future. So that exchange really lit a fire in me to bring these insights to you in a fresh, meaningful way today. So here is my gift to all of you, my little research on how this eclipse can impact your signs, all 12 signs. Let's start with Aries. Of course, remember, I'm doing the tropical rashis and sidereal nakshatra calculation. Aries rising, axis activated would be Pisces, the 12th house, and the Virgo, the 6th house. So the core tension for you would be to surrender, to let go, to rest, and also the unconscious or subconscious aspects of service, duty, even daily discipline. Core storyline. This eclipse spotlights an inner contradiction for you. Aries often carries this, I only feel safe when I'm doing, versus my soul needs stillness to be seen. So what's happening is 12th house moon eclipse, it's going to bring up buried grief, maybe spiritual hunger, sleeps and dreams could be affected, and also some aspects of escapist mentality may come up. Again, scrolling or coping mechanisms, screen, sugar, scrolling, spiritual bypass. These issues can come up. 6th house sun can also bring up over-functioning, perfectionism, fixing others, crisis management as your identity. So the psyche wants to purge hidden fatigue. Basically, you're tired and it wants to have a release. And the old sorrow, that's the 12th house, while the ego is trying to grip to the routines and productivity, which is the 6th house. Axis is always the dance. So if ignored, if discipline and the daily things are ignored, then this shows up as burnout, somatic symptoms, lack of sleep, or over-helping others, losing yourself in something. Because this axis of Pisces in the 12th and Virgo in the 6th are activated, the theme would be rest, surrender, duty, service. And because the psyche is longing for that stillness, for that sattva guna essentially, and the ego is clinging to routines, right? So then this burnout reveals that soul's need for compassionate discipline. Very important, compassionate discipline, not beating yourself up, not perfection. And a Bhagavad Gita verse that's really good for you. It's Bhagavad Gita 6.17. Yuktahara viharasya yukta chetasya karmasu yukta swapnava bodhasya yogo bhavati dukkhaha. So, what does this verse mean? Krishna says that one who is regulated in eating, in recreation, balanced in work and leisure, and measured in sleep and wakefulness, that kind of yoga releases you of suffering. So the lesson here, Aries, is learn that true strength is not in overwork or extreme or pushing yourself or beating yourself up, but it's in regulated rhythm. Rest is part of yoga. Remember that. Now, psychological dynamics. Why? Because this polarity between over control and escape loop is that the tighter you micromanage, that's again the Virgo, the sun energy, the more your system seeks relief through numbing, through escaping. I had a conversation with a friend who has this particular combination, and that's exactly what's happening in these weeks. It's like a heightened need for soothing, and then it plays out as escapism. And then there's also this martyr pattern, saying yes to every service need, thinking that I would be wasting time anyway, so let me say yes. But then you collapse because of the resentment. So this is a pattern that I saw with 2 people that I know with this combination. And then sleep and dreams. Vivid dreams may happen, and one of the persons that I spoke with was having issues with sleep, and then some deja vu kind of experiences, or even subconsciously some completion of story is taking place, and then you're really like too busy to hear it. So you need to like really quieten that inner critique, because there is the inner critique versus the inner mystic. So there's a harsh inner editor which is competing with a tender and poetic part of you that wants to just rest and be quiet, and maybe seeking music and prayer and oceanic energies. So how do we look at it philosophically? See, Karma Yoga is all about 6th house. Karma Yoga asks for clean, competent service, something which is balanced, without ego, without score-keeping business. In Bhakti Yoga, see, Bhakti Yoga is all about 12th house. It's about clear renunciation and surrender. So Bhakti Yoga is about the 12th house asking for trust, asking to relinquish control of outcomes. We're not saying that don't be attached to the work, don't be attached to the outcomes. So this eclipsed moon, it's saying to you, rest is not laziness, it's obedience to the soul's rhythm. You need this to be aligned. And the Anartha nivṛtti angle, like for some people to relax, is an austerity. So what to burn off? You will have to burn off something. So learn what to burn off. Let's look at the shadows. There is this tendency for escapism, right? So look at that. You may want to burn that mentality, and maybe vague boundaries, kuch bhi chalega, whatever. Then fantasy going into desiring things, looking at extremes. Also spiritual bypassing, meditate instead of apologizing, or something like that. So the Virgo, the 6th house energy, the shadow is all about maybe hypercriticism, that critique in you, or compulsive fixing, being harsh on yourself, or being harsh about others in your life. Why did this person not invite me? Why did this person not call me? So taking that out of context. If I don't do it, nobody will do it. If this person doesn't love me, nobody loves me. This kind of thinking. So the impatience, reactivity, lone wolf heroism. So for you, the vow or a sankalpa can be, I release the need to earn rest through exhaustion. You don't need to be exhausted to rest. It's okay to like balance yourself. So how to transform that energy? First thing is you need compassion towards yourself. And then that discipline needs to be balanced, okay? Compassionate discipline. Simple, sustainable routines. I made a friend of mine promise to me she's going to sleep, she's going to eat well, she's going to take care of her body in these next few weeks. So sleep, food, japa, these are non-compromisable. They're not punishments. These are schedules that actually keep you balanced. And I would also say if you're working and you're busy, keep that 20 minutes with no productivity aim. Boundaried seva, boundaried service or work. It's like you need to serve clean, but also decline clean. Service that ruins your health is not service. So knowing that, especially women, you need to actually understand your body, you have to understand your mind and the rhythm. You can't push yourself, and then you have a breakdown. So consciously end undraining commitment. Then create space for the grace to enter, for that peace to enter. I know it's really hard for you, Aries, but what you can do is chant Hare Krishna in a slow, not Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna, Hare Hare, Ram 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 Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. On eclipse time, you chant extra rounds. Drink a lot of water, stay hydrated, breathe, do some pranayama exercises. Also, apply some warm oil to your navel onto our feet, massage grounding energies, and invite those dreams that heal you, because these times can also be very important for release. Eclipse time is also really powerful to do charity. So the 6th house energy, if you have health issues, etc., give charity to old people who are in hospitals, shelters, ashrams. Also exactly like liberate your karmic baggage. And you may want to journal your dreams. Something special may actually happen. And this is for all signs, but also for you, especially as digital fast. I highly recommend that take a day in a week off from computers, phones, just take a break. And you can have these boundaries. I want to help and I will, but within this window, within these boundaries. After that, I'm offline. And if that critical part of you comes up, then you talk to that part and you say, I choose mercy over mastery in this especially eclipse time. Good enough is good enough. You don't need to do better. And we need to kind of surrender to certain aspects of time. So there may be a wave of fatigue, tenderness. 12th house is always a little bit of exhaustion related, so don't be alarmed. So it may be a time to reordering of habits and reordering of service. Let rest come before the rebuild. So you may want to have a checklist, one task that I will retire this week. What is the closure, commitment, something to close? One routine that I will stabilize for the next 40 days, the 6th house, the devotion aspect, the nourishment aspect, and one honest apology or boundary that heals both this axis of 12th house and the 6th house. And 1 hour of quiet, device-free time, maybe in a temple or in a park, whatever is your favorite place, maybe by the water. So good luck, Aries. I hope you have a good eclipse time. Make the best out of it. Moving on to Taurus rising or Taurus moon or Taurus sun. It applies to you in different ways. So the axis that's activated for you, Pisces is 11th house for you, and where moon is eclipsing, and Virgo, 5th house is where your sun is. So the theme for you is the illusion of belonging versus the pressure of performance. So for Taurus, this eclipse unfolds along the Pisces, Virgo axis of community and creativity. So the moon is eclipsed in your 11th house of friends, network, social life, collective efforts. While sun is going to be in your 5th house. And 5th house is all about your creativity, your projects, your children, your romance. Again, this is not just a celestial alignment. It's a mirror for your soul. It brings up the subtle contracts that you've made with life. And one of the contracts that Taurus sometimes does it subconsciously, if I give enough to my friends, they will never leave me. And this is a kind of a belief system. If I create something flawless, if I parent perfectly, then I am worthy of love. From what I've learned from my astrology teachers, I can assure you that this eclipse, it comes to dissolve these unconscious bargains that we have, something that's not beneficial, something that's not healthy. So with Pisces in the 11th and Virgo in the 5th, both activated for you, 11 and 5, theme is illusion of belonging versus perfection and creativity. So take this opportunity to dissolve this bargain, dissolve all these subconscious patterns of what you think you need to do to be worthy. Maybe you think that if I perform for the group, then I'll be safe. See, your creativity is an offering. It's not a performance. And I think it's a huge life lesson for Taurus in general. And a Bhagavad Gita verse that perfectly fits in this context is Bhagavad Gita 3.35. Shreyan swadharmo vigunaha paradharmat sva anushtitat swadharme nidhanam shreyaha paradharmo bhayavaha. So it's better to do one's own duty imperfectly than to do another's perfectly. So dying, doing our own duty is better than, another's dharma that brings us fear. The point is, for Taurus, the lesson for Taurus is stop performing for applause. Even imperfect devotion is more valuable than flawless performance for others. That's the theme. And then the polarity here, what's happening? Moon in Pisces in the 8th house, and there's the eclipse happening there. And then there is also this craving unconditional belonging. I have a relative who has this particular combination. The whole theme was about wanting to merge into community, to be part of something larger, to belong. So this core theme of wanting to belong, it's always very strong for Taurus, but especially with this 11th, the wanting sense of belonging with the community will be something very highlighted very much. Idealizing a group or a tribe as your safe harbor. That's another thing I've observed happening with the Taurus people. The eclipse, it's going to expose the illusions. Communities may disappoint. Those people, those friendships that you thought are going to save you may betray you. And the soul tribes may fall short of your expectations. And what's happening with the 5th house, Sun in Virgo? Pressure to shine individually through your talent, maybe your expectations with children, expectations that your project should go the way you want. But the Virgo filter, it adds that perfectionism. If it isn't flawless, then it's not worth showing. So this is a theme that many people struggle with, but the result is anxiety, inhibition, and then the creativity is never expressed fully. I know all about it. I am myself Taurus. So the tension is you may swing between dissolving into groups, losing yourself, and overperforming as an individual, and then exhaustion as a result. The shadow behaviors, the anarthas that can actually come up for Taurus, especially in the group setting, is over-giving to friendships that are not worth it. Maybe those friendships that have proven to not really respect you. Even personally, I have Sun in Taurus, so I experience this happening, that out of fear of rejection or something, I keep giving in a specific relationship, and that relationship doesn't really respect me. And then staying loyal in such a draining relationship is not helping me, and it's not helping the other person. So one of the reasons I'm making this video is also to channel that energy. I want to help a lot of people. I want to help friends, but I can do it through this video. So muting your opinions to avoid conflict was one of the themes that I was going through as well. So then the projecting fantasies of safety in certain circles, that also, it's like feeling bitter when reality fails. So I had to face that reality. We need to look at that. So in 5th house aspects, creativity, romance, projects, seeking validation through maybe projects, maybe children's success, using them as a proof of your worth. These also can come up. And then turning romance into a test. Am I special enough? That's like the theme. Withholding creativity out of fear of criticism. That's another response that we could have. And pride in being the entertainer, or teacher, or lover, or mother who holds everything together. Ooh, the illusion is going to also be shattered a little bit. Let's talk a little bit about the underlying Taurus tendency. Choosing stability over truth. Clinging to what feels safe, even if it no longer nourishes your soul. We need to a little bit understand the psychology behind, The psychological medicine is this. It's going to come, all these situations are going to come. So this eclipse is not cruelty. It's actually cleansing. So some cleansing is necessary. So it's in the hand of the universe right now. And it's saying enough of pretending, enough of performing. Come home. Come to that sense of self. Be yourself. I think grieve your illusion. That's another important point. Allow yourself to mourn those communities or people that never gave you what you longed for, never accepted you, never gave you that sense of belonging. Release the fantasy of that perfect belonging and shift creativity from performance to prayer. It's a hard one, but it's a very helpful one. Your art, your project, your romance, your parenting, whatever is your 5th house, it doesn't need to be flawless. Better to have that imperfect offering. Remember the Bhagavad Gita verse, made in devotion than a perfect creation that's made for applause, just to get applause of others. And sacred solitude, choose time alone intentionally, not loneliness, but that sanctuary mood. I'm trying to really build that mood of sanctuary. And lighting lamps, singing bhajans, kirtans, write to yourself letters, to your inner child, to your future person. tell that solitude is intimacy with God. It's not abandonment. So reparent that exile part of you, probably the inner child. Speak to that inner child who believes that if I'm not entertaining or perfect, then I'll be left behind. Tell them that you don't have to earn love anymore. I love you for existing. Krishna loves you infinitely. And choose quality over quantity. Step away from one draining social group. Invest in one friendship, one satsanga that uplifts you. Comment on these videos if this helps you so it can help more people. In this way, share that connection. So many people watch these videos, but they don't comment and share anything, so it's difficult to know if it's useful or not. And the spiritual lesson for you, the Anartha nivṛtti angle, is don't think that if I please this group, then I'll belong. If I perform perfectly, I'm safe. Release that escapism. Release that people-pleasing and perfectionism. Let it go. And belonging is not earned in crowds. Worth is not earned in applause. Belonging is eternal. We belong to the Lord. Krishna Nityadas. It's your Atma's connection to Krishna that's already there. It's eternal. So, and remember the Bhagavad Gita 3.33. It's better to do your own duty imperfectly than to do another's duty perfectly. So this eclipse echoes this truth. Your devotion, however imperfect, is more valuable than your perfection for the sake of others. Now, I also suggest some remedies. Chanting Vishnu Sahasranam, chanting Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, and purifying whatever the intention that it is you're doing. Chant those mantras before you do it. And again, charity, giving charity to children, good causes, artistic projects of others, putting a like or a comment in people's videos that makes you uplifted. And maybe sing a bhajan, read a particular verse every day, step back from social media, at least one social media platform, one group. Journal your eclipse realizations, because it may reveal some hidden desires for belonging, and writing these down is also a very beautiful exercise. So this eclipse whispers to Taurus, you are not defined by your group. You're not defined by your perfectionism. You are already loved. You already belong eternally in the heart of the divine. Let go of applause and let devotion be your song. Okay? Good luck, Taurus. Let's move into Gemini. Gemini, for you, the axis activated would be Pisces in the 10th house, visibility house. The moon is eclipsed there. And Virgo, the 4th house, the sun. So the theme is collapse of old career identities versus the call to return to inner roots. The theme, I have my ascendant in Gemini. For Gemini rising, this eclipse falls across your career or home axis. So there's always this battle. The moon is eclipsed in your 10th house of career, reputation, public identity, while the sun is illuminating your 4th house of home, inner security, and emotional grounding. So this is the classic who am I out there versus where do I belong in here. So this polarity about old ambitions may lose meaning. Ooh, that's really happening for me. Roles you worked hard to sustain may dissolve. And the deeper question will come up. What kind of life truly feels like home? Okay, so Gemini rising with this axis of 10th house and 4th house activated, the theme is career illusions versus true home within. The home is mostly something about internal. So public validation may collapse, but only to invite you inward. Success is no longer just applause of others or YouTube views. It's authenticity. In Bhagavad Gita 2.50, Diyukto jaha hitiha ubhe sukrita dushkrite tasmad yogaya yujasva yoga karma sukaushalam. One who acts with intelligence in yoga gives up both good and bad reactions. Therefore, strive for yoga. For yoga is the skill in action. So the lesson for Gemini is learn that real mastery is not really the reputation, but it's kaushalam. It's being skillful, it's learning, it's authentic alignment with Dharma. See, with this polarity, with the moon in Pisces and 10th house eclipsed, and then yearning for that career that feels soulful, that feels fulfilling, that feels authentic, but also compassionate. But then also the temptation, to escape into the vague fantasies of success, because the 10th house is all about visibility. It's not so much about skill, it's more about how we are seen. So the eclipse may dissolve this illusion about the public role, perhaps the prestige or recognition that you once thought it would fulfill you, that no longer actually does. Like for me, it's not so much about how many views a YouTube video has. It's more about the community. It's more about people that feel benefited. So the sun in Virgo, the 4th house, the ego's focus turned inward. Home, family, ancestry, inner foundations, inner sense of security, fulfillment. So Virgo here adds this restlessness. The inner world may feel messy, imperfect, not enough. Virgo has that energy of finding perfection. And instead of nurturing peace, the mind may criticize the home environment or self for being flawed. If you only find the right place, like right now I'm traveling and there is that voice that says, if only it would be settled. But that settlement is in the mind. So a deep sense of restlessness between chasing recognition in the world, the 10th house, and craving safety in the heart, at home, the 4th house sun. So the behaviors, anarthas, I would say, behind this 10th house shadows, because this chasing career illusions, if I get this title, I'll be secure. If I have these many followers, if I get these many views, it's like daydreaming and procrastination can come up, escapism at work. Lack of direction can happen because of that. So over-identification with being admired or being visible, this can be a shadow. It can be a tricky thing to deal with. 4th house shadows are more about harsh self-criticism around not having that perfect home or not being perfect, emotionally not feeling stable, trying to fix that inner securities immediately overnight by controlling the external environment, neglecting the heart's need for calm and softness and rest, because there's always more to fix. There's always more to fix. So the underlying Gemini tendency is overthinking, splitting attention between too many directions, never feeling grounded in one place. So the energy has to be, we have to have that awareness of what's happening. Psychologically, the medicine is surrender to that illusion of a perfect career, perfect security. The eclipse is helping to clear out these false ambitions. I really feel this, and I'm really allowing that to happen. If a career path or a project or reputation is crumbling, take it as grace. It was never meant to hold your soul. Shift the definition of success, and then you really achieve success. Ask, do I measure my worth by applause or by alignment with my values? This is for my friend who reminds me of this. Success must now flow from my authenticity, not from my illusions of prestige. So I'm not making this video because I got it perfectly, but I'm also really struggling how to navigate this. So cultivating this inner awareness, inner rituals, stable home inside, being sattvic with thoughts, rebuilding from inside out, not outside in, and reparenting that inner child, that exile part that feels unseen and looking for validation outside. So tell that part, you are safe with me now. We don't need the world's applause to know your worth. Quality over quantity, again, but inward. Reduce that public busyness. It takes, some space. We need to make some space. Deepen private grounding, family bonds, ancestral rituals, self-care practices, whatever it is. And a spiritual lesson for Gemini, and Anartha nivṛtti lesson is, if I shine in the world, I'll finally feel home in myself. That is not true. That is nonsense. Releasing this escapist ambition, trying to supplement, trying to compensate that inner child's need with over-identification, with reputation, self-criticism and around inner life. So the lesson is, home is not a place outside. It's the heart aligned with the divine. One of the remedies is doing community service, serving people, unconditional service, cooking and making meals for people. So the visibility being transformed. Sit with this question, what is my true home? 10 minutes, look at that, and then pay attention to what comes as an answer. Talk to your inner parts, and maybe some dreams may come up. So this eclipse may bring messages from family karma as well, because 4th house is activated here. So this eclipse whispers to you, Gemini, the world's applause cannot fill your inner home. Build the home within, and from that grounding, your work will shine. That's a message. Next, moving on to Cancer. So Cancer for you, basically, 9th house, the axis activated as 9th house and the 3rd house, Virgo, Sun. And the theme is crumbling of old belief systems versus the call to disciplined daily courage. For Cancer rising, this eclipse lights up your dharma axis, really. The moon is eclipsed in the 9th house of higher truth, gurus, faith, philosophy, while the sun is in your 3rd house. 3rd house is communication, courage, effort. So this is like faith versus facts. It's kind of a tension there. Old beliefs, spiritual teachers or philosophical systems may be disturbed. You may have doubts, may collapse. Uncertainties you clung to for guidance may dissolve under the eclipse influence. So you're being asked to rediscover your own dharma through lived practice, not borrowed beliefs. So with this activated, Pisces in the 9th and Virgo in the 3rd, collapse of false faith can happen, and versus daily courageous practices that you need to do. So you may lose faith in some borrowed ideas. You cannot do this blind faith anymore. Like that. It's a good thing. Bhagavad Gita 4.34. Tadvidi pranipatena pariprashnena sevaya upadekshanti te jnanam jnaninas tattvadarshina. This verse is all about the truth, how to learn the truth by approaching a spiritual master. In what mood? Humbly, inquire submissively from a realized soul that can impart the knowledge, for they have seen the truth. So approaching the right people to get that truth. And the lesson for you, Cancer rising, is let illusions fall and then approach Dharma through right person, right attitude, humility, small, honest steps. So the polarity we're discussing here is Moon is in Pisces in the 9th, eclipse is happening there. So the longing for transcendent wisdom and that spiritual guidance, the higher meaning, even foreign travels, especially with ascendant, but then maybe unrealistic desires, unrealistic illusions may creep in, blind faith, dependency on gurus, or romanticizing foreign country stays. You may think America is great because whatever your previous experiences of others being there. So borrowed truths, they won't anymore serve you. And then Sun being in the 3rd, it focuses on effort, writing, communication, siblings, courage to try something else. If you're thinking of America, think of Germany. So, but Virgo here makes you overly critical of your voice. Am I saying it right? They got it. I need to do it. Am I doing enough? So 3rd house is about doing the small steps, yet the Sun here can inflate small into not good enough. There's only very little you can do in some situations. So tension is the need for big meaning, 9th house, that collides with daily practice, which is the 3rd house. So you need to really balance this. If you're thinking of foreign stays, etc., do proper research, be updated, don't go by your blind beliefs. So the 9th house shadowy things are blindly following trends, blindly following my friend went, I want to go, or blindly following teachers and seniors, and spiritual escapism, using philosophy to avoid pain, and arrogance. Maybe you have so much faith, this will work out for me. Be humble, be open. And the 3rd house is all about maybe self-harsh criticism. If only I had done that studies, or if only I had applied earlier. All these kind of regrets. Don't get overworked on details. Express yourself in a compassionate way. Don't compare yourself with peers. Very important, because the underlying Cancer tendency is emotional dependency, wanting to be seen by others as something, especially peers, or trying to prove your sense of self-worth to feel secure. The psychological medicine for you is allow that collapse of false faith. It's okay that a plan fails. It's okay that if your looks not so successful in front of people, if a belief, if your peers are looking down upon you, it's dissolving, it's mercy. It wasn't real shelter anyway. So shift from theory to practice. Instead of seeking that ultimate answer, the ultimate country, practice those small daily steps. Writing, learning a new language, sharing. Dharma is all about growing in that lived action. It's not ideology. So be open to possibilities and reclaim your voice. Virgo in the 3rd, it's all about make your doubt your words. Express it. The eclipse is about be honest. Imperfect words are enough. And reparent that part of you which compares and thinks inside there's a child who wanted to believe unquestioningly a trend, authority, peers, whoever, but it felt betrayed. So now it's thinking I have to do what others are doing, but it's safe to question. It's safe to learn for myself. Truth is not outside you. Okay, Krishna's guidance lives within you. So you choose courage over comfort. Choose internal alignment instead of externally following the trend. The 9th house moon wants comfort and certainty. And the 3rd house asks you to step into vulnerability of speaking, writing, risking, expression, learning new language or whatever. So it's an adventure. So the spiritual lesson, the Anartha nivṛtti angle is the illusion for you, the Maya. You may think if I just find the right country, the right profession, the right job, right philosophy, right guru, ideology, I will never feel lost. But my dear, this is material world. Purification is all about letting go. So don't be arrogant about your belief system. Dharma is not inherited, it's practiced. So courage in small daily actions. Focus on today. Focus on true wisdom. Focus on connecting with your real courage. Then you will find that success. And eclipse time, giving charity of books, educational institutions, writing something every day, writing a message to your parents, somebody, your siblings. 3rd house is all about siblings. And using your voice in prayer to the Lord. It heals the 3rd house shadow aspects. And visiting temples, creating sacred space at home. But with the approach with humility, not with the fantasy that your prayers will be answered in the sense of materially what you want will be given. More asking for guidance. So this eclipse whispers to you, truth is not out there to be borrowed. Truth is within you. It's revealed step by step as you live it. Don't cling to borrowed philosophies. Speak, write, learn new language, walk your dharma with courage. Try new things. Keep in communication with siblings and friends. Good luck, Cancer. Pisces is your 8th house, where moon is eclipsed, and Virgo, your 2nd house. That's where the sun is. So theme will be transformation of shared power and intimacy versus purification of speech, wealth, values, sense of security, stability, the support, etc. So what's happening is full Leo rising. This eclipse strikes at the heart of security and survival, the sense of support system that you have. Moon is eclipsed in the 8th house, shared finances, intimacy, karmic bonds, psychological depths, taboos, challenges. And then the sun is shining in your 2nd house, which is like personal values, speech, family resources, self-worth. So this is like an intense security access. What do I rely on? My own strength, others? So asking yourself, what must die for a truer sense of worth to be born? So for you with this Pisces axis, 8th house and Virgo, the 2nd house activated, theme is clinging to power versus purification of wealth, of illusions, of safety and speech that needs to dissolve. So the medicine is in purifying the words, purifying your wealth, offering your wealth in devotion, giving charity. Bhagavad Gita 2.71. Vihaya kamanya sarvan pumams charati nishraha nirmamo nirahankara sa shantim adigacchati. Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita says that one who abandons all desires, free from longing, without a sense of mine or the false ego, that person attains true peace. Seems very high. But Leo, the lesson is peace is not about clinging to the wealth or the external accomplishments or control. It's in releasing that mineness, me, mine, aham, mameti. Purandarasa says that sense of me and mine, when you get too attached to it, it's like hell. So what's happening here is this polarity between Moon and Pisces, 8th house, which is all about emotional attachment to deep merging, that sense of control, the sense of the partners, shared wealth, family, karma, even those subconscious bonds that you experience. And those things can manifest in this eclipse period as fear of abandonment, fear of betrayal, or even obsessive attachment to others' resources. This belongs to me, land, property, money, time, energy. So this eclipse, it exposes the illusions, the fantasy that someone else's property or love or money or power can guarantee safety. What it exactly means to you, sit down, introspect, journal about it. Some things may come up, but these are the key areas. So Sun in Virgo, the second house, what's happening is the ego clings to control through personal possessions, speech, values. So when Virgo here, it kind of becomes harsh. Self-worth gets tied probably to productivity or to criticizing yourself and others. And that in turn can trigger fears. Fears of not having enough, fears of not doing enough, fear of not having enough self-worth, not having enough respect. So the tension is needing this intimacy and shared bonds. The 8th house is all about that. And then while craving independence and the self-reliance. So that's the second house. So it's the polarity there. So the behaviors we can look at from the Anartha nivṛtti perspective, the shadow behaviors, lessons is 8th house shadows is all about losing yourself into achievements, partner, power, money, approval, anything other than you. And then the obsession with maybe keeping secrets, trying to keep the image, control, manipulation, karmic debts. As a result, escapism into fantasy around intimacy, addiction, love addiction can come up. And if they merge with me fully, I'll never be abandoned. So that sense of codependency. So the second house, the shadow of the second house, Virgo in the second is harsh speech, cutting words that masks like honesty. And then obsessing over money, saving, hoarding. So self-worth based on material stability or being useful. So the underlying ego, the underlying Leo tendency is pride and control. So wanting to shine so much that you fear being vulnerable. That's the key thing for Leo. And the psychological medicine is face that fear of loss. The 8th house eclipse forces you to sit with that primal fear. What if I lose what I depend on? The medicine is to discover even if money or relationship or reputation fails, I still remain. I am not those things. And then purify that speech, purify your values. The Sun in Virgo in the second house, it reminds you that words can heal or wound. Practicing sweetness, truth, humility in speech. Anchoring worth and not possessions, but in your service to Dharma. So reparenting also that child part, the inner child, the exile, a part of you that may have felt unsafe as a child, maybe financially or emotionally or physically. You didn't feel that sense of control. You learned to cling to others for survival. So tell that little part, that exiled part, that you're safe now. Your worth and your survival are not borrowed. We stand on eternal ground in the love of God. So shift from possession to offering. That's the highest form. Instead of hoarding or clinging, practice generosity, appreciation, offering wealth, energy in service. And so because the spiritual lesson and the Maya, the illusion is to think that if I hold tightly to wealth or control or power or approval, I'll be safe. But the purification is fear of abandonment and greed and controlling tendencies and harshness in speech. Even though you may not want to do it, it may come up as a trigger or response. The lesson is to learn that true wealth is not what you own, but in what you offer. What you give is truly what you have. True intimacy is not control, but it's surrender. So it's beautiful to see that. And you can pray to Lord Nrsingadev to release this fear of karmic cleansing that's going to happen with the 8th house cleansing. Give food, clothing, financial help to those people in need. Second house is also the purification. It helps to practice austerity of speech, speaking gently. Udvegakaram vakyam, as Bhagavad Gita says, don't speak harshly. Chant before speaking. Chant Hare Krishna. And daily discipline, waking up in a certain time. It really helps to heal from that mood of scarcity. Offering sun, water to Surya, Arghya, Pitru Tarpana. Watch the other video on the same, on karmic debts from ancestors. Okay, so Leo, this eclipse whispers to you, your safety does not come from money or control. Your worth is not held in others. Release the fear of loss. Speak with humility. Offer what you have. and you will discover an infinite wealth of your soul. Good luck, Leo. Virgo. Now, Virgo, you, the axis activated is the Pisces 7th house, and Virgo, the 1st house. So the theme is illusion of perfect partnership versus the pressure of perfect self. Wow, this is a tricky aspect here going on. So for you, this eclipse is deeply personal. The moon is eclipsing your 7th house, is marriage, partnership, alliances, business, relationships. So the sun shines in your 1st house of self, body, identity. And this is the classic self versus other polarity. With Virgo's perfectionism, with these two things, the eclipse is basically pushing you to ask, who am I when I am not defined by my partner? Can I exist in relationship without disappearing or controlling? These are important questions. And because of this axis of Pisces in the 7th and Virgo in the 1st, the theme for you is perfect partnership illusion versus perfect self-illusion. So the eclipse dissolves the fantasies of salvation through others or even through self-perfection. Love is already given. So Bhagavad Gita, what Krishna says 6.5. One should elevate the self by the self, not degrade the self. For the self is the friend of the self, and the self is also its enemy. So it's all about that axis of you and others. The Virgo needs to understand that to transform the inner critique into a friend, the self-compassion, the healing energy of self-compassion, it heals you and your relationships, any relationship, others basically. The 7th house is others, other people in your life. So the polarity, what's happening, your moon in Pisces in the 7th, is longing for that ideal partner, soulmate, perfect union. You're waiting for that perfect person who's going to make you happy. So that longing for that ideal person, there's a tendency to want to merge in that other person. Perfect fantasies, okay? And then you project that, and then you feel disillusion when reality will show up and their own limitations come up. Tirtha Swami used to say, you're feeling incomplete and you're waiting for somebody, and the other person is feeling incomplete. When you come together, the bigger incomplete. So that's the illusion of relationships. Focusing to see what is truly lacking in you. Spotlight on self-image, because what is lacking is something internal. That's like relentless self-criticism. I must fix myself before I'm lovable. I must find someone else to love me. All these kind of paralysis, control. To think that I need to fix myself, I need other person to fix me. Fantasy of perfection through another. So what is happening here is the Anartha behind this is over-idealizing partners. This many people have, but this may come up stronger for you during this eclipse. Spiritualizing unhealthy relationships. Escaping into dependency. If I find the right person, then my chaos will vanish. That's a subconscious thinking pattern. Avoiding solitude by clinging to others, clinging to wrong people as well. So the 1st house, what's happening here? The harsh inner critique, it's about body image issues, never feeling good enough, constant self-improvement, maybe projects that leave you no room for rest. You're stressed. Maybe pride and humility, like defining worth by being the hardest worker, most selfless. And the underlying Virgo tendency is also obsessive control rooted in the fear of being unworthy, unloved. So the psychological medicine for you during this eclipse time is face the illusion of perfect partner. It doesn't exist. Only Krishna, only God is your perfect partner. So the eclipse clears these projections. If relationships end or change, it's truth resurfacing. And partnership is not salvation. It's just a mirror of yourself. 1st house and 7th house are aspecting each other. So transform the self-criticism into self-compassion. If you love yourself, then you're ready for a relationship. So Virgo's sun demands that improvement of working on yourself, becoming a capable person for you, not for the other. So love is not earned through flawlessness. So practice telling yourself, I'm enough in this moment. They say if you fulfill 50% of your own needs, then you'll be happy in a relationship. So there's also this inner child that's probably saying, I'm not good enough. I'll be rejected. I need the other person to tell me that they love me. Tell that little child, I accept you, mistakes and all, warts and all. And Krishna accepts you completely. So integrate that self and other, the balance. Don't dissolve into the partners. Don't isolate into hyper-independence. Learn the dance of connection without losing self. And the spiritual lesson here, Anartha nivṛtti angle. If I fix myself perfectly or I find the perfect partner, I'll finally be safe. This is such a big illusion. This is such a big nonsense concept. It doesn't work like that. Relationships meant for peace. It's not meant for happiness. And it's for purification. So releasing self-criticism, perfectionism, dependency on others for worth, that's when you'll be ready to attract the right relationship. So the lesson is true love begins with self in harmony with the Lord. Relationships reflects that inner acceptance and it doesn't replace it. And some of the remedies for you is giving presents and charity to married couples, old couples, married couples, and women in general as well. And an affirmation that can help you is I see myself through the eyes of compassion. Physical detox, fasting can also be very helpful. Do ekadashis, full fast, just water, make sattvic, nourishing diets. Relationship side, writing forgiveness letters to people that you find it hard to forgive. Burn them, release it, write it, burn it. So this eclipse is whispering to you, you are not a project to be fixed. You are not saved by a perfect partner. You are already whole. And in that wholeness, you can love and be loved without illusion. You are loved. Okay? Moving on to Libra rising. So for you, Libra, Pisces 6th house, Virgo 12th house, the opposite, right? The burnout of endless service versus the call to retreat and surrender. So what's happening here is the eclipse happening along your health and service axis. So the moon is eclipsed in the 6th house. The 6th house is all about work and daily discipline and health and service and conflict and all these aspects, enemies. And then the sun is shining in your 12th house. 12th house is the rest and solitude and surrender and subconscious and spirituality and retreat and all that. So this is a tension between doing more versus letting go. The eclipse reveals where helping, fixing, serving has become toxic, self-abandonment. So you may be like doing, but then your soul is starving for the stillness. And with this axis with Pisces in the 6th and Virgo in the 12th, the theme is burnout of endless service versus false renunciation. See the polarity there. So helping without boundaries or renouncing with critique. Both aspects miss the point. Sacred service flows from surrender. Bhagavad Gita, verse for you. Bhagavad Gita 3.7. Yastva indriyani manasa niyamaya rabaterjuna karme nindriya karma yogam asaktasa vishishyate. One who controls the senses with the mind and engages the organs of action in karma yoga without attachment is superior. So the lesson for you is service must be done happy. Susukham kartum abhyayam. Renunciation should be done without escape. So the balance is the key. That's the yoga. So what's happening with you here, the polarity with the moon and Pisces and the 6th house energy is there is a desire to serve. Want to serve compassionately, but often you're losing boundaries and then emotional entanglement maybe with work situation or being a rescuer in service. So this eclipse could be revealing those illusions. You can't save everyone. Service without grounding is just martyrdom. It's not healthy. It's not sustainable. So, and then on the other hand, Sun in Virgo, 12th house. So it's the ego driven towards spiritual achievement of perfection and retreat practices. One person I saw with this combination was like, my wife is not helping me in spiritual life, so I'm going to leave her. It's like, oh, what? 12th house is like, it can become hypercritical of this life. So I'm not meditating right. My wife is not healthy. I'm not spiritual enough. This marriage is not spiritual enough. So the sun here also exposes a hidden self-sabotage, escapism, addictions, denial, illusions. So the tension is you're being consumed by task and health struggles and rescuing others, 6th house aspects, and then collapsing into avoidance, retreat, false renunciation. How spiritual is it to want to divorce your wife? It's not, but then it's like false renunciation. So the Anartha here is the 6th house shadows aspect is overwork, burnout, confusing self-sacrifice with devotion. And then you playing the savior, fixing others so you don't have to face your own pain. So escapism from your own health issues by spiritualizing them. This is something, I'm working so hard. No, you have to take care. You have to stay hydrated and sleep, etc. So the 12th house is like harsh spiritual perfectionism. You may be obsessing over right practices. My wife has to behave in this way. This particular person was wife, but it could be anything that what you think obstructs your spiritual life, escaping responsibilities in the name of renunciation, criticizing yourself for not being spiritual enough. Another person with the same combination just today told me, my teacher told me that I shouldn't have married, but now I'm married, I have a kid. I don't know, I feel I'm sacrificing my self-progress for I'm sacrificing my spirituality for this marriage. It's escapism. So the psychological medicine is learn that everything is sacred service, not like just removing things, not false renunciation, markata vairagya, monkey renunciation, to actually offer everything that we do as a devotion. So medicine is do fewer things with more presence. The Lord is bhavagrahi janardana. He sees your intention. So integrate rest and discipline. So Virgo's sun in the 12th is all about your retreat practices. It matters because you need to be compassionate, not critical. So create this daily rhythm that gives you both, honors your service and also honors your sadhana and nourishment. 12th house needs to be spiritually, retreat and reparent that inner child. Somewhere inside there's a child who maybe learned that if I keep everyone happy, I'll be safe. So tell that child you don't need to fix everyone to deserve love. You're loved. You're enough. When you rest, you're enough. When you take care. So shift from that escape to true surrender and distinguishing between numbness like Netflix and scrolling and unhealthy escapes, sugar and whatnot. And then to true renunciation, which is letting go into prayer. Letting go. Krishna, what do you want me to learn today? So the spiritual lesson, Anartha nivṛtti angle, the illusion for you is if I serve endlessly, I'll be loved. The inner child, the exiled part of you. If I renounce perfectly, I'll be pure. No, the purification is people-pleasing, martyrdom, false renunciation, spiritual perfectionism. These are your obstacles. So the lesson is true service flows, aligning to God's will. Ask God what I need to learn from this. So true renunciation is not escape, it's surrender. Chanting with attention really helps. Quality japa, it anchors you in bhakti rather than in perfection. The point is to please the Lord. It's not about you having the kind of life that you think that you need for your spiritual life. So focusing on mental health and donations to hospitals, charity places, healing places will be very useful in this eclipse time. You can also choose one day to just relax and rest without any guilt. So this eclipse whispers to you, Libra, stop confusing sacrifice with love. Stop judging your solitude. Rest in yourself. And from that rest, let your service for the Lord flow. All right, let's move to Scorpio. So Scorpio, for you, the axis that's activated is Pisces in the 5th house, Virgo in the 11th house. The sun is in 11th house for you. So the theme is the illusion of special love and creativity versus pressure of group success, recognition. So what's happening here is for Scorpio, this eclipse falls across your creativity, community axis, creativity, community. So the moon is eclipsed in the 5th house, which is a house of children and creativity and romance and joy and personal recognition, personal expression, individuality. So the sun is shining on your 11th house, which is a house of friendship and social media and network and ambitions and social life in general. So the tension between I want to shine uniquely versus I must serve the group and gain recognition in the collective. So this eclipse is asking you, are you creating from devotion or for applause? It's a question to think. And with this axis with Pisces in the 5th house and Virgo in the 11th, illusion of special love, creativity versus pressure of group validation. See, your love, romance, child, or applause cannot define your self-worth. The call is to offer the joy without attachment. Bhagavad Gita 3.19. Tasmad asakta satatam karyam karma samachara asaktyo yacharam. Without attachment, you should always perform your work. By working without attachment, then you attain the supreme, then you attain the perfection. So the lesson here is devotion is fun. So come, it's supposed to be performed joyfully. It's not a performance in the external sense. It's created for the Lord. You do it for the Lord. All right. And the polarity here, what's happening is the 5th house, which is eclipse here, the deep longing for romantic or creative fulfillment, and then the fantasy of the perfect lover or perfect child. So the eclipse is going to help you dissolve all these subconscious patterns around love and romance and creative pride and projects and all these aspects. So the sun in Virgo, 11th house, ego invested in networks, groups, recognition. So Virgo here adds comparison and criticism. You feel that I'm not achieving enough to compare. I'm not achieving enough in comparison to others. Then you may push yourself into productivity because of community goals, but without joy. You may do something because some authority is saying, but you're not really convinced about it. So the tension here is the craving for the joy. You're trying to do something to find fulfillment, find that uniqueness, 5th house aspects. But then there is a pressure to perform from outside, to produce, to belong to a group. So that's the 11th. So the Anartha aspect that you may want to look at, the shadows of the 5th house, is projecting fantasies of being saved by others, maybe the lovers, maybe the group, whoever. And pride, taking pride in your children's talents or their capacity, using them as extensions of your ego. Our parents do that. It's a mistake. And then escapist creativity, which means daydreaming but not manifesting, looking at so many videos but not making it, things like that. So then the 11th house, the whole point is by over-identifying with that social media or likes or group status, getting validation from the group, external recognition. And then, of course, envy and comparison. If that comes up, that's a big red flag. Overworking, to earn that belonging in those networks. So the underlying tendency for Scorpio is usually the intensity in love, obsession with being seen as special, control in friendship, manipulation, moodiness. So the psychological angle and the medicine for you is face those illusions of romance, creativity. If some particular relationship doesn't work out, it dissolves, a creative project dissolves, it's purification in this phase. Joy must come from soul's connection to God. It shouldn't come from another person's approval, a group making you feel forced to do it. It's not going to come from there. So shift from that comparison, trying to prove, to contribution. And the Virgo in this 11, it says stop comparing, serve the group with your authentic gift. So I think it's more a shift, internal shift. Your role is not to be the best, but to offer what is true. And then reparent that child, because all this comes from that child. I made that video on the new moon happening. It's all about inner child, the child that wants to be the star. You're already seen, you're already loved. And Krishna delights in your presence, in your play. So balance this individuality with group service. Don't abandon your creative spark for group approval, but also don't isolate into self-obsession either. So blend the two, offer your joy as service. Because the spiritual lesson for you is, it's not that if my lover or my child or my creation shines, I will finally be validated and I'll be worthy. That's not true. You have to rewrite that script. Your purification is romantic illusions, creative pride, comparison in groups, envy. All these things are your issues. So the lesson is, true joy is to do it happily with the divine, to play with the divine. True recognition comes from serving that Lord, not by applause. Okay, and giving donation to children, orphans can be very beneficial in this time. Also spending time with creative projects like bhajans, kirtans, social detox, very important. Step away from one social media channel that triggers comparison. And if you have this romance issue, offer any unfulfilled longing and love to God. Transmute that eros into devotion, do yoga, do the headstands, all these energies that can transmute the energy. So this eclipse is whispering to you, Scorpio, your worth is not proved by romance or children or applause. Your worth is eternal. Play, create, and love as offerings, not as bargaining chips for recognition. Good luck. Let's move to Sagittarius. Sagittarius, for you, the axis that's activated is Pisces in the 4th with Virgo in the 10th. So the theme, the illusion of emotional safety versus the demand for worldly achievement. 10th house is the sun. The sun is in the 10th house for you. The Sagittarius, the eclipse strikes your career axis. One of the most balances that we all go through, home and career. So this moon is eclipsed in your 4th house. 4th house is all about home and roots and mother and emotions and internal security, inner sense of peace, happiness, fulfillment, belonging. And then the sun is shining in your 10th house. So 10th house is the career, visibility, responsibility, authority. This eclipse is going to test here. What is true success? A stable inner heart, a recognition outside. So what's happening here is this axis with 4th house, Pisces 4th house, Virgo 10th house, where your sun is. In the Pisces 4th house, the eclipse is happening. So the false security of home versus perfectionism in career. It's always the extreme. The axis energy of eclipse is extreme, right? Neither the perfect house nor perfect status is true shelter. Home is actually here, within. And dharma is actually service. So the redefinition, Bhagavad Gita 5.29. Bhoktaram yagya tapasam sarvaloka maheshwaram suhridam sarva bhutanam nyatva mam shantim vricchati. This is the peace formula given in Bhagavad Gita by Krishna. That peace is attained only when you know that Krishna is the only enjoyer. And he's enjoyer of all sacrifices. And he's the Sarvaloka Maheshwaram, the Lord of all the worlds. And he's the best friend of all living beings. Suhridam, he's in the heart of everyone. So for you, the peace is lying in that shelter of the Lord, not in titles or family illusions. It's a good reminder, because in this polarity that's happening for you, the moon in Pisces in the 4th, just like eclipsed. So the yearning for that perfect home, the womb-like safety, emotional merging with family, the expecting that the family should be perfect and give you happiness, all that fantasy, right? If my home life were healed, I'd finally feel secure. The eclipse dissolves this illusion of safety through external conditions, and then reminding you that inner peace must be cultivated. It's internal. And then sun in Virgo, the 10th house focuses. Ego is focused on status, contribution, public role, and there's pressure. When we think in that way, there's pressure. I must perform flawlessly at work to prove my worth. It's very heavy, Then that can lead to over-responsibility, workaholism, fear of public failure, stress. So the tension is the longing to hide in that safety of home, the 4th house, versus the pressure to prove oneself to the world. So there's like pull there. So what's happening on the Anartha nivṛtti level, the behaviors that you need to watch out for. The shadow of the 4th house is the escapism into nostalgic clinging to family, illusion, emotional dependency on parents or partners to provide security, expecting that I have to find a physical home and a specific home that you want, all these kind of illusions. And then avoiding growth by staying in that comfort zone. 10th house, the shadows are perfectionism in career, fear of masking mistakes in public, trying to show that I'm more successful than what I actually am, all those defining identity only through titles and achievement and public image and visibility. And then the harsh inner critique is disguised as professional discipline. It's a big one. So then what's the underlying Sagittarius tendency? Running away when things feel restrictive, escaping responsibility in search of freedom. I know somebody, I was doing a reading with them. This is exactly what they're trying to do, escape responsibility in search of freedom. But then the psychological angle, how you can heal it, redefine what home means. It doesn't depend only on the partner. It doesn't depend on only the physical structure of the home. It's what makes you feel safe. It's where your consciousness rests. That should be in God. When your consciousness rests in God, then you feel secure. So the security is cultivated inside. The eclipse clears that illusion of external wombs. It really kind of gives that opportunity to free karmic release. So redefine success. True authority is not in titles. It's actually in walking the path of our dharma, letting go of comparisons. Virgo's sun also wants applause, okay? But then God, Krishna is asking for sincerity. So we need to reparent that little child inside who longed for that unconditional nurturing. Tell them, I am your safe home. Krishna is our eternal shelter. You are not alone. So balancing that private and public appearance, private life and public dharma. Don't hide in avoidance, the 4th house. Don't, at the same time, don't overexpose in perfectionism, the 10th house. So this integration is beautiful. It's an adventure. That's when the heart's peaceful at home and then you're happy doing your service sincerely in the world. So the spiritual lesson for you is all about knowing that the illusion of if I find that perfect home or the perfect career, I'll finally be whole. It's not true, because the purification is on the emotional dependency. You need to purify that emotional dependency and nostalgia and perfectionism and career. You need to give up the performance-based identity. You need to learn that home is within. And dharma is service, not performance. And practices for you that will be very helpful during eclipse are Vishnu Sahasranam, listening to bhajans, offering water to sun god Arghya, also giving charity to orphanages, women's shelters, and rebuild your altar, because that's the real fourth house energy of finding the home space where you can pray and offer your work daily before to the Lord. And practice gratitude. One thing I am grateful for will be a game changer. This eclipse whispers to you, Sagittarius is not where you hide. Career is not where you prove. Home is where your heart is. It's in the Lord. Career is where your love becomes service. All right. Next is Capricorn rising. So with this axis, which is activated, Pisces in the 3rd and Virgo in the 9th, where the sun is, the theme will be the endless trivia versus rigid ideology, fanaticism maybe even. So the eclipse will burn this busyness and spiritual pride. Wisdom is lived surrender, not endless words. So it's about Jnana and Vigyan. Jnana is knowledge. Vigyan is applied knowledge. So Bhagavad Gita 4.38 for you is Ahi jnanena sadrisham pavitram iha vidyate tat swayam yoga samsiddha kalenatmani vindati. There's nothing so purifying as knowledge. Due course, one perfected in yoga realizes this knowledge within the self. So for you to learn that, to step out of noise, that's when the inner maturity and the wisdom will come through surrender, not through control. And the polarity that you're trying to manage here is the moon in Pisces, the 3rd house, is dealing with this emotional over-identification with messages, emails, endless scrolling, dependency on small tasks, gossip, or seeking validation through constant communication with certain people. So the eclipse is going to dissolve these things. That dissolves the illusion that if I say enough. And sun in Virgo in the 9th is all about the ego clings to being the authority on philosophy or higher truths. Like, I know it all. I know this. I memorized this. So Virgo adds that rigidity. My belief must be perfect. My teacher must be flawless. My path must be exact. Then it may lead to judgment of other traditions or dogmatic perfections in spiritual life. So the tension here, what's happening is overactivity in small, shallow tasks, which is the 3rd house, versus perfectionism and control in the aspects of 9th house, which is the philosophy and faith, believing or whatever, going to America is better, and all these kind of belief systems. So the shadow behavior of the 3rd house thing is maybe gossip, escapist conversations, endless busyness, trying to do everything to try to fit in, an addiction to validation from siblings, peers, online chatters, people that say that it's the cool thing to do, the trends, and then escaping real dharma with constant small projects. 9th house, however, the shadow is the becoming a spiritual perfectionist. Maybe criticizing other people's belief. They don't know enough. Losing faith when a teacher makes a mistake. Why these gurus are falling down. The whole guru system is wrong. Kind of like giving up on ideals because of some situations. So using knowledge as superior than using that as a guidance. Because the underlying tendency for Capricorn is equating worth with doing and controlling. Too much effort, not enough surrender. That's the tendency. So the psychological shift should be from noise to wisdom. Not just chatter, info. It should be wisdom. It's applied knowledge, Vigyan. The eclipse is a reset for you. Reduce that chatter, seek that silence. Don't cling to that daily trivia, what's going on, what's the trend. That will not give us security. It's more about finding a philosophy that's Guru Sadhu Shastra, something that's authentic. And humble your inner scholar, okay? There's a scholar inside you. The 9th house that wants perfect answers. But the medicine is to say, I don't know this. To admit that. Because faith is lived, not micromanaged. We live it in humility, in vulnerability. and then reparent that little child in you who felt that it had to prove its intelligence by speaking, knowing, performing, getting good scores, knowing the facts. Tell them, you don't have to prove your smarts. Your silence is wise. Balance small tasks with big vision. Do not drown in inboxes, okay? The third house, like small things that gets lost. Do not get lost also in ideology and big wars, get into some stupid, useless Facebook arguments and, controversies. So practical learning rooted in divine wisdom in guiding you. And the spiritual lesson, the Maya aspect for you is like, if I keep learning, talking, I'll be safe. It's not like that. You're not going to perfect your belief system by just knowing. You need to purify this busyness. Being busy is not necessarily productive. So it can be superficial. It's like a dogma. So lesson is wisdom is not information. Faith is not perfection. Both are surrender. So chanting in the mood of humility, vulnerability, giving donations to religious organizations, dharma projects, cows, it will be very, very releasing of karma for you. Choose one meaningful skill to deepen instead of scattering your energy. And take one vow of silence one morning and one evening each week. And ask yourself, where can I release control? All right, so this eclipse is whispering to you, Capricorn, stop drowning in words. Stop controlling belief. Step into silence where knowledge becomes wisdom and effort becomes faith. Good luck, Capricorn. Now moving to Aquarius rising, Aquarius moon, Aquarius sun. Different interpretations. Go to my other video to see what each means. But if Aquarius is playing a role in your chart, the axis activated will be Pisces in the 2nd house, the moon is eclipsed, and Virgo in the 8th house where your sun is situated. So the theme will be false security of possessions versus transformative surrender of intimacy and trust. So what's happening for Aquarius is the eclipse falls across your value and transformation axis. So the moon is eclipsed in your 2nd house of money and food and speech and possessions and self-worth. And then the sun is shining on your 8th house. And 8th house is all about intimacy and shared wealth and vulnerability and resources of other people, death, rebirth, hidden fears, challenges. So this is one of the most karmically intense axis, what you cling to for survival versus what you must surrender to evolve. Very thin line there. So what's happening here with this axis activated, the Pisces 2nd house and Virgo 8th house where the sun is, the theme will be that false sense of security in possessions, okay? And then the transformative surrender, not just surrender, there's an effort there. So safety in what's mine is illusion. Real wealth is Krishna's protection. And Bhagavad Gita 9.22 for you. Ananyas chintayanto mam ye janah paryupasate. Krishna preserves what they have and carry what they lack. It's a famous verse of Bhagavad Gita. It's apt for you. The lesson for you, Aquarius, is learning that real security is not hoarding, but it's in surrender. Krishna himself carries your needs. Having that faith, it really works. And I know somebody who has this sign, and we were discussing about this faith. When you have faith, it works. And he was sharing with me, when he believes in Lord's protection, it really works too. When he doesn't believe and he doubts, he really gets stuck in that loop. So this excess, what's happening here is emotional dependency on wealth, possessions, or food, even simple things like that, food. The illusion is if I have enough money or approval, I'll be safe. So the eclipse can reveal the cracks in financial stability, eating patterns, self-worth illusions, all these things, okay? And then sun in Virgo, the 8th house, ego gets obsessed with control of shared resources, intimacy, or even psyche and internal intuitions. So Virgo, here it wants you to micromanage transformation. I'll surrender, but only on my terms. Then it can show up as fear of loss, avoidance of vulnerability, or judgment of intimacy. And the tension is the clinging to stability in the material, the 2nd house, versus being forced into transformation through vulnerability, which is the 8th house. So what's happening in the shadows is the 2nd house shadows is overindulgence, maybe food, overeating, sugar, or measuring worth by possessions or income. Oof, it's a big one. And again, there's like a lot of inner child work to be done. Maybe there was a scarcity issue while you were growing up with money. Then escaping fear of lack with fantasies of abundance. See the polarity there. So the 8th house shadows is about the fear of being controlled in intimacy, not giving in relationships fully because you're afraid of being controlled. And then obsessive control over finances and inheritances or partners' resources, because the 8th house is about other people's wealth. And then anxiety about death, loss, the unknown. It can be disguised as practical caution, but it can confuse you because the Aquarius underlying tendency is intellectual detachment to avoid emotional vulnerability, then trying to rationalize what must be felt and surrendered. It's a big one. Journal about this. Think deeply. Pause this video. Go back and listen to what I just said. So the psychological medicine is all about redefining that security. True safety is not a bank account. You may have a lot of money in the bank, but it doesn't give you safety. It's not in that approval. It's real wealth is that connection to the Lord of the wealth, Krishna. Inexhaustible, eternal, right? Sarvaloka Maheshwaram. So embracing that transformation is the Virgo 7th house work for you. So you cannot control death, right? So the medicine is surrender. I cannot control loss, but I can trust God in it. So a lot of changes are happening. Jobs are being lost. You may be relocating. You may be losing a job. And the inner child may be terrified of not having enough, not having security. And you are provided by the Lord. You are nourished. Your worth is eternal. And it doesn't need to be earned. You need to reprogram that inner child. And you don't need to hoard. The 2nd house is all about like hoarding. And you don't need to control others. It's about using resources the best way for now, not thinking too much long term. And using connections in service, not fearing intimacy. And the Maya, spiritual lesson for you, you may think, if I just hold on tightly to what's mine, I'll feel safe and I'll keep it forever. But there's purification here, purification of greed and fear of loss and avoidance of intimacy, micromanaging things, healing that inner child. Because the lesson is let go to be held. What you let go comes to you, really. So real security is not in possessing, it's in divine embrace. Okay, this is a very good meditation. So you may pray to invoke that fearlessness. In Vishnu Sahasranam, there is a verse, Bhayakrit Bhayanashana. Read that verse, destroyer of fear. And minimalism can actually help you to try to minimize things. Spend little, don't consume. Little is enough. That kind of culture really helps you to be grateful. And share a vulnerable truth with somebody you trust. You're only as sick as your secrets. Sometimes opening up can be very helpful. And before sleeping, also do the ritual of oiling your body, oiling your navel. This kind of really grounds. And then when you're eating, this is prasad. This is not just for my survival. This mood also really like opens you up. So this eclipse is whispering to you, Aquarius, you cannot hoard your way to safety. You cannot control your way to intimacy. True wealth is in surrender to the Supreme Lord's divine will. True nourishment is love in service. Good luck, Aquarius. Let's move to Pisces. Pisces, for you, the axis activated would be Pisces, the 1st house. It's happening in your 1st house. And then Virgo, the 7th house, where the sun is. So the theme is shedding old identities, confronting relationship mirrors, and rebirthing into authentic selfhood. What's happening in Pisces is the eclipse is profoundly personal. It's happening in the house of self. And the moon is eclipsed in your house, 1st house, your body, your mind, your identity, your vision. So the sun is shining in your 7th house, and the 7th house is partnerships. Mirror the other person showing you who you are, the others, business partnerships. So this is not a time of small shifts. It's an unveiling of false self that you've outgrown. Beautiful. What you project, how others see you, the ways you molded yourself so that others can love you, so you can be loved or accepted. All these things are going to be eclipse. Because in this axis with Pisces in the 1st and Virgo in the 7th, the theme is because the dissolution of false image has to happen, false self-image. And the illusions in partnership also will become washed away. Because this eclipse reshapes that identity for you. It's actually a great opportunity. Either clinging to old masks nor dissolving into others' will. Bhagavad Gita 1866. Dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja aham tvam sarva papebhyo moksha ishyami ma shuchaha. Krishna says that abandon all varieties of religion and simply surrender unto me. I shall deliver you from all sinful reactions. Do not fear. What a reassuring verse this is. So for you, the lesson is about surrender is your real identity. To be in that place of who you are. Krishna Nityadas, an eternal servant of the Lord. Not self-perfection, not I'll manage it on my own, not merging, but shelter in Krishna. Krishna lifted Govardhan hill. It's up to you to go and take shelter under it. So the polarity that's happening for you is first house, which is eclipsed, and then the seventh house, which is your sense of emotional connection and identity, feels shaken. So first house is all about who am I without other people's approval. Old masks, survival personas, role play, collapse, So you may feel hypersensitive, invisible, or even strangely a little disoriented in your own skin. And then what's happening because of Sun and Virgo in the seventh, that ego that you've invested in relationship for so long, because you have this need to be useful, perfect, or be needed in the eyes of others. So all these kind of partnerships may trigger criticism, judgment, demands. So it'll kind of fizzle out. All those not serious relationships will fizzle out. And relationships can also act as mirrors, exposing your blind spot, your own false image. Because there's a tension between wanting to dissolve into that first house Pisces thing and being into concrete reality of the expectation of others. So there's going to be two extremes for you. Either things will be exposed about you through others, or relationship will dissolve that which are not serious. So the first house shadows are over-identification with being the rescuer or martyr, and then escapism, losing the self in fantasy, spirituality, false spirituality, or addictions even, okay? And then the confusion about boundaries. I am everyone. So who am I? So it's like very codependent style here. And the seventh house shadow is also attracting critical or perfectionist partners, wrong partners, toxic partners, and measuring your self-worth by relationship success. If they're not treating me nicely, I must not be worth it. Oof, it's like a whole drama. And then over-analyzing love and making intimacy a transactional thing. So what's happening is Pisces' underlying tendency is avoidance of sharp reality by dissolving, merging, disappearing. It's a thing, And then the psychological medicine is reclaim your identity beyond mirrors. Who are you without a partner or without a role of a rescuer? Who are you? What's your identity? So that eclipse clears these projections. You don't need to be perfect to be loved. The transformation of relationships should be in a sacred way. This relationship is meant to please the Lord. And how can I treat this person as another devotee of the Lord? So the Virgo in the seventh is a teacher, okay? Accept that constructive feedback without collapsing into shame that will come from the other person. Maybe the other person is behaving a little bit hard. So see partners as reflections, not as judges. See what I mean? A thin balance there. And then try to make a clear distinction between selflessness and self-abandonment. Because Pisces compassion can turn a little bit into self-erasure, giving up individuality. So the medicine for you is healthy boundaries. Saying no can also be service. Hold that inner child, a part of you that is terrified. If I don't serve, I'll be abandoned. Soothe that child. You are loved for who you are, not for what you do for others. You're not defined by how others treat you. So a spiritual lesson in Anartha nivṛtti context, illusion could be, my worth is saving others, or in being chosen by them. If I'm chosen by them, then I'm lovable. But you have a purification process here. The purification is giving up people-pleasing, martyrdom, codependency, escapism. Because the lesson is your true identity is you're a soul. You're a servant of Krishna, not servant of ego or expectation of other people. So relationships becomes reflection of divine love, not prison of self-abandonment. So it's a very thin line between the two. First and seventh house are always like that mirror. How you treat others is the way the others also treat you. So I think working on this approval is going to be a key theme for you. Journal what you project onto others versus what is truly yours. What is truly yours. The eclipse whispers to you, you are not who others think you are. You are not the rescuer, the martyr, or the abandoned child. Not at all. You are eternal, whole, and beloved. Let the masks fall. Let the truth of your selfhood shine through. In surrender, your real radiance will awaken so you can be at the service of the Lord. So we can all pray during this amazing eclipse time. This eclipse is happening in 18 years, I think. It's happening after 18 years. You can pray to release all these generational curses, all these burdens that we're carrying, all these subconscious things, that garbage that we're keeping, and pray to the Lord to make us His servant, make us an instrument of His peace, and may His will and not ours be done. Let go and let Govinda. I hope you found this video useful. Please do comment below and do like this video. The more you like and comment, the more people can see this video. Hare Krishna, Namaste.